Hi, my name's Haley. I'm a digital and traditional artist, and over the last 7 months, I've dived into a new adventure of children's book illustrating. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I've developed my style and kind of what I'm looking forward to in the future. Let's get right into it. First and foremost, I'm not new to art. I've done art my entire life. From the time that I could hold a crayon, I was creating art. But as I talked about in my first video, I recently dived into the world of digital art, got an iPad, I've been exploring Procreate, and with that, I am finally pursuing a lifelong dream of doing children's book illustration. So let's talk about how I started finding my style. My baby is eating some lovely avocado in the background and seems very excited about it. So you might hear her a little bit, and hopefully that's okay. The first thing that I did is I started exploring Pinterest, and I created a board just for illustrations that really resonated with me or caught my eye. And I kind of started studying what it was about those pieces of art that I liked. The outlines, what mediums they were using, what was the subject matter. And I found personally that I was gravitating toward portraits of animals with like clothing on that were really like whimsical and fantasy, with a very nature-based color palette. I personally love fantasy. I love all things whimsy, and so that's obviously what my eye went toward. And then secondly, I use a very like natural color palette in my own house. I use a lot of like greens and reds and yellows and browns. An autumn color palette was my color palette for my wedding, so this is a long history of loving these colors. So I've gone on several self-dates or dates with my baby, and we will go to the children's book section of Barnes & Noble and just peruse and look around. And what I'm really trying to pay attention to is what book cover do I gravitate toward, like what captures my eye and why, and really like analyze the design elements of it and the illustration style. Just by doing this and like exposing yourself to other illustration styles, you can start picking like, ooh, I love this color palette, I love these brushes, I love these textures. One of the hardest things for me right now is like nature. How do I want to draw trees? And so I really analyze how other people do trees and bushes and just capture nature in their work. One of the mental barriers that I had to overcome to really dive into illustration was that I had this misconception that everybody can just draw from their imaginations, and that's not necessarily true. I am sure that there are artists out there that can, and that's amazing for you. That's just not me. And so because I had that idea, I thought that you just were able to draw cartoons that you just created in your mind, and I guess I'm just not that imaginative. And so with the realization that I could use reference photos still, even though I'm illustrating, I'm not trying to do like a realism style, that opened so many doors for me, because yeah, I still look at reference photos for when I'm drawing a rabbit or when I'm drawing an animal or a building, and even though it's like a cutesy illustration style, I still love having something to reference. Then obviously it comes down to experimentation. I've been experimenting like crazy in Procreate with all the different textures and how it is that I like to blend and all of that. This is the kind of phase that I'm still in. Like I said, I'm 7 months into developing an illustration style, so I am not set in my ways. My style is probably going to keep evolving and changing for the rest of my life, but a big thing for me right now is whether or not I want to have outlines and how I want to use them. I've been challenging myself to not have outlines and to experiment more with like the definition of different shapes and how I can define those things without outlines. Part of this was experimenting with all the different brushes in Procreate. I have yet to buy a brush pack or go outside of what is just provided in Procreate, but I literally went through and experimented with like all the different textures, and then I put together a list that I call my illustration list that is like maybe 8 brushes and pencils that I really enjoy using, and I use those for pretty much everything. This kind of contributes to your style because no matter what it is you're drawing, whether it's an animal or a person or a house, it's all going to share the same textures and look about it. Next, I wanted to define some kind of key words to describe the style that I like and that and that I'm trying to create. And so those words for me were whimsical, cozy, and cute. And so as long as I feel like the work that I'm creating are whimsical, cozy, and cute, that is what I am striving to do. I want my pieces to bring people joy and just a feeling of like warmth and comfort. Now that style would be very different from, say, like a comic book artist or an anime style. Like that's going to come with a totally different color palette and different descriptions to describe how you want people to feel when looking at your work. This baby, I swear. Along with this, one of the things that I discovered that I really like is digital art that just still feels real, like it still feels like traditional art. And that's why I gravitate toward paintbrushes and pencils and charcoals and like crayon textures. And I also discovered that I really enjoy putting paper images on the base layer so that I have that paper texture underneath all of my art. So what does this look like going forward as I develop my illustration style? Well, one, like I said, I think it's going to continue developing and changing as time goes on, and also project to project. I just did one project that I can't share with you quite yet, but it's a book cover in a very folk art style, and then I'm also illustrating... I'm also illustrating my first children's book, which I talked about a little bit in my first video. It is my late mom's children's poetry. She wrote so many gorgeous, adorable, and hilarious poems that it has been a lifelong dream to illustrate and publish. And so this year I'm illustrating at least one. I kind of have a goal of doing two, but that second one could be a client if I find one, could be my own. I want to get 2 children's books illustrated and published by the end of the year. For me, I found that it's really important to just keep practicing. I'm trying to do 1 drawing a week for fun. And obviously in the future, I'd like it to be more like 2 or 3, but right now with a baby and business and all the things that I have going on, I am just trying to tackle 1 for fun drawing a week, and then I'm also working on this children's book pretty much like around the clock. So if you found this video informative or helpful, or you're just excited to watch my journey as an illustrator as I publish my first children's books, please hit subscribe and give this video a like. It would mean a ton to me. And then also let me know in the comments where you are in your artist journey. If you're an illustrator, what kind of art you do. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Sorry about my baby being an absolute menace.